Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something massive in the Ethereum world, scaling. You know, those high fees, the sometimes sluggish speeds. It's like a bottleneck, right?
Absolutely. It's been the elephant in the room for a while now.
Uh-huh.
How do you grow without breaking what makes Ethereum, well, Ethereum?
Exactly. And that brings us to Matter Labs. They're right at the forefront, working on solutions. You hear their name a lot, especially around ZK Sync.
You really do. They're one of the key players trying to crack this scaling nut.
So that's our mission today. We're going deep into Matter Labs. Who are they? What drives them? We'll look at ZK Sync, their tech, their business, the whole picture.
Yeah, give you, our listener, a really solid understanding of what they're building and why it matters.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. At the core, we're talking zero-knowledge rollups, right? ZK rollups.
That's the heart of it. Think of ZK Rollups as like a super fast HOV lane for Ethereum. They're layer 2 solutions.
Layer 2, meaning they operate on top of the main Ethereum chain.
Precisely. They bundle up tons of transactions off-chain, process them there, and then just post a small cryptographic proof back to Ethereum Layer 1.
And that proof is the zero-knowledge part.
Right. It proves the transactions are valid without actually revealing any of the underlying data. It's kind of, well, it feels like magic, but it's just very clever cryptography.
Privacy and efficiency, all rolled into one.
Okay.
Okay, I think we've set the stage. Let's unpack Matter Labs itself, the people, the mission.
Let's do it.
So every big tech story starts with people who actually founded Matter Labs. And what was the spark? We know they're behind ZK Sync, focusing on scaling Ethereum's values with ZK EVM.
Yeah, the co-founders are Alex Gluchowski and Alex Vlasov. Gluchowski has a background as a co-founder and CTO, sort of the execution guy, perhaps.
Okay.
And Vlasov is deeply technical, PhD in electrical engineering, strong research focus, so a really potent combo of vision and technical chops.
Makes sense. And geographically, where are they based?
Headquarters are in Georgetown, Cayman Islands.
Interesting. And their mission, it sounds pretty ambitious, more than just code.
Oh, it is. They talk about breaking financial barriers, enhancing global freedom, really accelerating mass adoption of public blockchains.
So bringing crypto to potentially millions or even billions of people.
That's the vision.
Yeah.
But crucially, doing it without sacrificing decentralization. So aiming for high speed, low cost, smooth UX, privacy, all built on that foundation of trustlessness.
Trustlessness enabled by the ZK proofs, moving beyond just transparency.
Exactly. They see transparency as sort of a necessary step before ZK rollups came along, but ZK allows for true verified trustlessness.
And how do they approach building this? Is it all at once?
No, they've got this lean design philosophy. It's very phased. Security first, always. Then basic scaling, like simple token transfers. Then programmability smart contracts. And finally, privacy features layered on top.
A methodical build-out. Any other key people we should know?
Yeah, definitely. Steve Newcomb is Chief Product Officer, really focusing on the user side. Anthony Rose heads up engineering, making sure it all runs smoothly. And Rich Kim is leading their push into Web3 entertainment and media.
Okay, so branching out beyond just core infrastructure. Interesting. Now let's get into the tech evolution. ZK Sync wasn't born fully formed, right?
Not at all. This is where the story gets really interesting, tracing its development.
Take us back to the beginning.
Okay, so it started with ZK Sync Lite, that was formerly ZK Sync 1.0, launched back in June 2020.
1.0, what was its focus?
Primarily basic payments, think token swaps, transfers. It was designed to be really fast and cheap for those specific use cases.
But limitations.
The big one was no EVM compatibility. Ethereum virtual machine compatibility. That meant developers couldn't easily bring their existing Ethereum apps, their dApps, over.
So it limited the scope beyond just payments.
Exactly. But it proved the concept worked. It got traction, over $80 million in total value logged, TVL at its peak, showed promise.
Okay, so Light proved the concept? Then came the next big step.
Then came the quantum leap. ZK Sync era. This used to be called ZK Sync 2.0. This is where they introduced full EVM compatibility.
And that changes everything for developers.
Completely. Now they can build on ZK Sync era or migrate their existing Ethereum dApps pretty seamlessly. They get the low fees, the high speeds, but keep the security and decentralization inherited from Ethereum.
How do they achieve that compatibility?
They use an LLVM-based compiler. It's a pretty powerful tool that lets developers write smart contracts in languages they already know, like Solidity and Viper. Makes the transition much, much smoother.
And the adoption reflects that. What do the numbers look like for Era?
The growth has been pretty explosive. TVL hit $668 million around mid-2023. It's fluctuated a bit, market conditions and all, but consistently strong, over $500 million in May 2024, $663 million in April 2024.
That's significant capital locked in.
It really is. And they're projecting maybe hitting $1 billion by late 2024. Plus, user growth is impressive, over 1.3 million unique wallet addresses interacting with it by May 2024. That signals real developer and user confidence.
Wow. Okay, you also mentioned something called native account abstraction in Era. What's that about?
Yeah, account abstraction, or AA. This is a really neat user-focused feature. It basically makes crypto wallets way more flexible and user-friendly.
Oh, so.
Well, for starters, you can pay transaction fees in any token you hold, not just ETH or a specific native token.
Oh, that's convenient. No more needing specific gas tokens all the time.
Exactly. Plus, it allows for custom wallet features. Like you could batch multiple different transactions together and sign them all at once. Think one-click DeFi operations.
Nice.
Or you could add things like two-factor authentication to your wallet without needing those complex seed phrases that people often lose or get phished.
That sounds much closer to a traditional web experience, but decentralized.
That's the idea. And doing it natively is the key part. Older blockchains often struggle to add this kind of flexibility without breaking things. ZK Sync Era built it in from the ground up.
Okay, that native AA and the instant finality from ZK proofs, those feel like genuine leaps in user experience. But the tech enabling it, the ZK proofs, that must be incredibly complex stuff.
Oh, it is. Deep cryptography, but fascinating.
Let's dive into that a bit. You mentioned ZK Sync uses ZK snarks.
Correct. Specifically, recursive ZK snarks. SNARK stands for Succinct Non-Interactive Argument of Knowledge.
Okay, break that down. Succinct.
Means the proofs are tiny, really small file sizes, which makes them very quick and cheap to verify on the main Ethereum chain.
Non-interactive.
It means once the proof is created, there's no back and forth needed between the prover and the verifier. Just submit the proof, it gets checked, done.
Streamlined. Any downsides to snarks?
Well, there are trade-offs. Generating the initial cryptographic keys for snarks, what's called the trusted setup, is a very sensitive, complex process. You have to trust that it was done correctly and the secret parameters were destroyed.
Ah, the trusted setup issue. I've heard about that.
Yeah, and the other thing is current snarks aren't generally considered post-quantum secure, meaning a powerful enough quantum computer in future could potentially break them.
Okay, good context. How do they compare to, say, ZK Starks?
Right. Starks are the main alternative. They tend to have larger proof sizes, so they cost a bit more gas to verify on Ethereum.
But the upsides.
Two big ones. No trusted setup needed. That's a major plus for decentralization purists. And they are designed to be resistant to quantum computers. More future-proof in that sense.
Interesting trade-offs there between size, cost, trust assumptions, and quantum resistance.
Exactly. Different teams are betting on different approaches. Matter Labs chose snarks for ZK Sync Era, likely prioritizing that proof succinctness and verification speed.
Now, I know Vitalik Buterin categorized ZK EVMs into different types based on compatibility. Where does ZK Sync Era fit?
Good question. Vitalik outlined 4 main types, basically on a spectrum from perfect Ethereum equivalence to higher performance with some compatibility trade-offs. ZK Sync Era is generally considered a Type 4 ZK EVM.
Type 4, what does that mean practically?
It means it's high-level language equivalent. It takes code written in languages like Solidity or Viper and compiles it into a format that's really efficient for their ZK Snark prover to handle.
The benefit being?
Very fast proof generation. That leads to quicker transaction finality for the user.
And the trade-off?
The trade-off is slightly less direct compatibility at the deep bytecode level compared to, say, a Type 2 ZK EVM. Type 2s, like Polygon ZK EVM or Scroll, aim for almost perfect EVM equivalence, which makes migration potentially even easier for some complex edge cases, but their provers might be a bit slower.
So, Matter Labs optimize for speed and finality with Era.
Seems to be their strategic choice, yes. Prioritizing that prover speed.
Can you walk us through, at a high level, how a transaction actually gets processed on ZK Sync Era, the workflow?
Sure. So you, the user, send a transaction. An off-chain component, the operator or sequencer, grabs your transaction along with many others and puts them into a block.
Okay, batching them up.
Right. Then that block gets submitted to a ZK Sync smart contract on Ethereum Layer 1 for some basic checks. But the heavy lifting, the proof generation, happens off-chain.
The prover calculates the snark proof for that entire block.
Exactly. Once that complex proof is ready, it gets submitted to the verifier contract on Ethereum. If the proof checks out mathematically, confirming all transactions in the block were valid, the new state of the ZK sync rollup is finalized on layer 1.
It's this intricate dance between off-chain computation and on-chain verification.
It really is. Using Ethereum purely for security and final settlement, while doing the bulk of the work off-chain much more cheaply and quickly.
That's a great overview of the core engine. But Meta Labs isn't stopping there, are they? I hear about things like ZK Porter and ZK Stack. They're pushing scalability even further.
Absolutely. They're definitely looking ahead. ZK Porter is a really interesting concept for, exponential scaling.
Exponential. How does that work?
Think of it as an optional, ultra-low-cost data availability layer that works alongside ZK Sync Era. Instead of posting all transaction data on Ethereum Layer 1, which is expensive, ZK Porter keeps data available off-chain.
Off-chain data. Isn't that less secure?
That's where the Guardians come in. These are participants who stake ZK Sync tokens. They attest to the data being available by signing blocks. Critically, they cannot access or steal user funds. They only vouch for data availability.
So a hybrid security model. What kind of throughput are we talking?
The potential is huge. Because you're saving so much on L1 data costs, they estimate ZK Porter could handle upwards of 20,000 transactions per second. Compare that to maybe 2,000 TPS for a standard ZK rollup posting data on-chain.
20,000. That's massive. And users can choose.
Exactly. You can choose the standard ZK rollup security for high-value transactions where on-chain data matters most. Or use ZK Porter for things like micropayments or gaming actions where super low fees are the priority. It's about user choice.
Okay, ZK Porter for hyperscalability. What about Redshift? That sounds futuristic.
Yeah, Redshift is their work on a new kind of snark. It's designed to be transparent, meaning no trusted setup, and universal.
Universal meaning?
Meaning it can theoretically take almost any computer program and generate a ZK proof for it. Not just blockchain transactions, but arbitrary computation. Plus, it's designed with post-quantum security in mind. It's still more on the research horizon, but very significant potential.
Wow, proving general computation. And then there's the ZK Stack.
Right. Think of the ZK Stack as a toolkit, a modular framework. It lets developers build their own custom ZK-powered blockchains, which they call hyperchains.
So like building your own layer 2 or even layer 3 using Matter Labs tech.
Precisely. And it's modular. Developers get to choose things like how should data availability work, rollup style, validium, volition, like ZK Porter, what token should be used for fees, ether, a custom token, maybe multiple tokens, who runs the sequencer, centralized for efficiency or decentralized for permissionlessness.
Giving builders a lot of control to tailor the chain to their specific needs.
Exactly. It's about enabling an ecosystem of interconnected, scalable chains, all leveraging the core ZK technology.
Incredible ambition there. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. All this cutting-edge tech needs funding and a business model. How does Matter Labs operate financially? Who's backing them?
Well, they've certainly attracted significant investment. Their Series B round in November 2022 was a big one, $200 million.
$200 million. Who led that?
Andreessen Horowitz, a 16Z, a major name in venture capital. They also received a grant from the Ethereum Foundation early on, which is a nice vote of confidence from the core ecosystem.
So well capitalized. How do they actually make money? What's the revenue model?
It's pretty straightforward for a roll-up transaction fees. When you use ZK Sync Era, you pay a small fee.
Okay.
Those fees go to reward the validators who process the transactions and produce the blocks. And remember that account abstraction. Fees can be paid in various tokens, which is user-friendly. On the ZK Porter side, the guardians who stake tokens and ensure data availability also earn fees, usually paid out from the validator rewards and denominated in the native ZK Sync token.
Makes sense. Fees for service. What about partnerships? Who are they working with?
Partnerships are crucial in this space. A key one is with Open Zeppelin for security.
Ah, the smart contract security expert.
Exactly. They do continuous audits of ZK Era, provide real-time monitoring.
Yeah.
Security is paramount, and having Open Zeppelin deeply involved is a big deal. They apparently found 0 critical issues in their late 2022 audit, which is impressive.
Definitely builds confidence. Any others?
Yeah, they've partnered with XPLA, which is a big player in Web3 gaming, to build out a gaming ecosystem on a ZK Sync Hyperchain ZK XPLA, leveraging the tech for game deployment.
Gaming is a huge potential use case for low fees and high throughput.
For sure. And for developers, partnering with companies like Alchemy is important. Alchemy provides easy access to ZK Sync nodes via APIs, so developers don't have to run the complex infrastructure themselves. It lowers the barrier to entry for building.
Smart ecosystem building.
Okay.
Okay, they've got tech, funding, partners.
Hmm.
But it's not like they're the only ones doing this. How do they stack up against the competition?
Right. The layer 2 space is incredibly competitive. You've got several major categories of rivals.
First off, the optimistic rollups. Arbitrum, optimism.
Yep. Arbitrum and Optimism are the current leaders in terms of TVL. They work differently, using fraud proofs instead of validity proofs.
The key difference being.
Optimistic rollups assume transactions are valid unless challenged. This leads to that 7-day withdrawal waiting period, the challenge window. ZK rollups use math to prove validity up front, so withdrawals can be basically instant.
That withdrawal delay is a definite UX drawback for optimistic rollups.
It can be, yeah. Optimistic rollups also tend to have slightly higher transaction costs because they need to post more data back to layer 1 compared to the succinct proofs of ZK rollups.
Okay, so clear advantages for ZK there, theoretically. What about other ZK projects, other ZK EVMs?
That's where the direct competition is really heating up. You have StarkNet from Starkware, also a Type 4 ZK EVM like Era, but uses its own language, Cairo, not Solidity directly.
So a steeper learning curve for Ethereum devs?
Potentially, yes. And SnarkNet uses ZK Starks, not Snarks. Then there's Polygon ZK EVM.
Big name, Polygon.
Huge. Their ZK EVM is a Type 2 aiming for closer EVM equivalents. They launched just days after ZK Sync Era went live. They use a combination of Starks and Snarks, and Polygon has that massive existing ecosystem from their POS chain, which could give them network effect advantages.
Right. Who else?
Scroll is another Type 2 ZK EVM, really focused on that native Solidity experience and long-term Ethereum alignment. Linea, which is backed by Consensus, the MetaMask folks, is also a Type 2, gaining traction quickly. And you even have Tycho, aiming to be a Type 1, almost perfectly Ethereum equivalent, though that comes with slower proving times.
Wow, okay, so a real horse race among different ZK flavors and compatibility types. How does ZK Sync Era stand in terms of actual usage?
Well, as we said, Era had a strong lead in TVL among ZK rollups for a while, especially in mid-2023. That's significant. But looking purely at daily transactions doesn't always correlate perfectly with TVL.
Meaning?
Sometimes high TVL can be driven by users depositing funds hoping for future token airdrops rather than consistent everyday usage. It's a common pattern in crypto. Separating the speculative activity from the genuine, sticky adoption takes time.
Yeah, drop farming, yeah.
Yeah.
A metric to watch carefully. Okay, no technology is without its weak spots.
Yeah.
What are the potential vulnerabilities or challenges for Matter Labs?
That's essential to consider. Firstly, the complexity of ZK tech itself is a double-edged sword. It's powerful, but it's hard for many developers to master, hard for users to fully understand, and expensive to build and audit correctly.
High barrier to entry.
Definitely. Then there's the centralization issue, at least for now. Matter Labs currently runs the key off-chain components, the sequencer that orders transactions, and the prover that generates the ZK proofs.
So not fully decentralized yet.
Not yet. They have a roadmap to decentralize these components, starting with the sequencer, but right now, it's a point of control and potential failure. That goes against the core crypto ethos.
A critical step they still need to take. What else?
Security risks are always massive in crypto. We see huge hacks constantly, billions lost annually. While Matter Labs invests heavily in audits with partners like OpenZeppelin, a successful exploit on Zscatank would be devastating for trust and value.
The stakes are incredibly high.
Immense. Also, their dependency on Ethereum itself. If Ethereum hits major roadblocks, congestion, or issues with its own upgrades, ZK Sync feels that pain too. Its performance is ultimately tied to its Layer 1 foundation.
Makes sense. It's a symbiotic relationship.
It is. And like any complex software project, there's always the risk of technical debt leading to bugs or performance issues down the line. Finally, just the sheer challenge of adoption. Attracting and retaining both developers and users in such a crowded L2 market is tough, especially before they potentially launch their own token to incentivize activity more directly.
Lots of hurdles still to navigate, even for a leader. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. The vision, the tech evolution from late to Era, the deep dive into ZK Snarks and ZK EVM types, the future with ZK Porter and ZK Stack, the business side, the competition, the risks. It really shows how Matter Labs is pushing the envelope on Ethereum scaling.
They absolutely are. They're tackling one of the hardest problems in blockchain head-on, and ZK Sync Era represents a major step forward, particularly with that EVM compatibility and native account abstraction.
It feels like we're genuinely seeing the next generation of blockchain infrastructure being built.
I think so. And, Vitalik Buterin's sentiment really resonates here. He's predicted that ZK rollups will likely win out over optimistic rollups in the long run precisely because of fundamental advantages like That instant finality, no 7-day waits.
That user experience difference is hard to ignore.
It really is. And the broader market projections are staggering. Some estimate the ZK proof market could hit $10 billion by 2030. Think about the demand potentially needing 90 billion ZK proofs generated annually for Web3 services.
90 billion proofs.
Yeah, and processing throughput potentially reaching 83,000 transactions per second across the ecosystem. That's faster than Visa currently operates. That's the scale ZK Tech unlocks.
Incredible potential. So as we wrap up, here's something for you, our listener, to really chew on. Given the sheer ambition of Matter Labs, the complexity of ZK technology, and this constantly shifting competitive landscape, what unforeseen challenges or maybe even unexpected breakthroughs might still be lurking just around the corner? How might this radically change decentralized finance? And maybe even how could you participate in that future? Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Matter Labs. We'll catch you on the next one.